Morning.
Good morning.
Good to have all of you here. Are we good to go?
Yes,
I
let's start.
Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all of you and a warm welcome to the maiden edition of the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana 2021 Tech Job Fair. Ladies and gentlemen, it would interest you to know that one of the main activities of the Institute of ICT Professionals is to organize technology programs through webinars, workshops, seminars, and then training sections. So it is no surprise that we are having this today. Secondly, coronavirus pandemic has plagued all of us in all aspects of life, especially when it comes to the requirement for employment across industries. So today, to be able to understand the changing needs of employers or the trends of employers, and also the skills development when it comes to ICT sector, we are going to engage major stakeholders who are going to talk to us about technology jobs. And I would like to assure you that our esteemed resource persons are going to show and lead us all into the new normal, because your next job interview could be online. And I think we need to get ourselves ready for some of these things that are happening all around the world. My name is Christy Kwetia, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And I thank you all very much for joining us this morning. Before we start with our first speaker, I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of the Institute of ICT Professionals, Ghana. He is going to do the opening welcome. So I'd like to call on Mr. David Gowu.
Thank you very much, Kwesi, and you're all welcome to the maiden edition of the Tech Job Fair. We are very excited to have you all here, and as already introduced by Kwesi, in 2020, we were all just taken by surprise with this pandemic, and everybody has to move online and begin to work online. But it also requires some changes in the way we work, the skills that are required, and other things that come with it. So as technology professionals, we think that it's important that we begin to share knowledge, provide guidance and information on what are the new trends, new technologies, new skills that are required for us to move forward. That is why the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana organized this program, and we have our distinguished resource persons that will be sharing knowledge with us. The Institute is a professional association in Ghana, and we've been running activities in the areas of capacity building. We provide training for professionals, graduates, young people, kids, in emerging technologies. One of the things we've been talking about is the coding program, which we do quite well. We're also involved in areas like skills development for universities, new technology skills that are required. And these are things that we think that we should start all talking about, we should start having conversations about, and that is why we're here. We have over 1,900 members, mainly professionals and few students, and we look out to getting more professionals, more students to come onto this platform, share knowledge, and also help in the technology development in Ghana. We believe strongly that mobilizing technology professionals will go a long way in providing skills and also for the socio-economic development of Ghana. Once again, you are welcome, and I look forward to a very exciting one-day Tech Job Fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Gowu, Executive Director of the Institute of ICT Professionals. Well, technology is becoming our way of life now, whether you are aware of it or not. And I'm sure that what we're going to do here today would actually help you to see the way forward with the trends that are happening so that you can also be a part of what technology is doing for humanity all around and everywhere in the world. Thank you once again, sir. And one of the things that I constantly hear from Mr. David Good when we have a conversation is about coding. And I'm sure that in between our deliberations over here, he's going to come up and then explain it more to all of us. It's something that's good for kids, for adults, for everyone at all. And it's something that we all should know. All right, so I'm going to introduce our first speaker for today. But before that, I would want you to know that you can ask your questions through the message column. After the speaker, we would take the Q&A and then it will be followed by another speaker. So please make sure that as the presentation comes on, you just go direct to where the message column is. Any questions, that's all that you have, just type it over there so that we can take notice of that. All right, so to speak to us on new skills certification, which is usually required to meet the growing demand for digital transformation, I'd like to welcome, and all of us, with the greatest of respect, let's welcome the president of Academic City University College, Professor Fred Magbagonlori.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Can you turn my camera on, please, if you can?
Good to have you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want my camera on? It's disabled now.
Yes, we would love to have your camera on.
Okay. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your invitation and for your kind words.
Don't start. No, don't start. Mute.
All right. So please, in case you're not on, please mute your part of the speaker where when you speak we can hear you. So please do that. Let's take notice of that so that anything that you're saying will not come up here, because it's the speakers that would speak and then we would have to listen to them and would have to give them that 100% hearing. All right. Thank you very much.
Prof, you can turn on your video now.
Okay. Well, it still says blocked from your end. Okay, there we go. Good morning once again, and thank you guys for such a wonderful job. I've been following IIPGH for the last 3 years, and I can't tell you how much sacrifice these guys have brought to bear in trying to help us reconfigure our ICT landscape. I cannot overemphasize my support, and you know, I'm looking for the day where everybody will need certification from you guys to go out there and get a job in the ITC space. So anyway, without taking much time, COVID, as we all know, we like to say has devastated the world. I like to say that COVID offers unique opportunities that we were all dreaming about, but has been spurred forward by the events of the last 12 months. If you look at the global strategic trust of some of the major nations in the world, the European Union, the United Nations, and China, ICT is an integral part to their moving forward strategy. A friend of mine was kind enough to forward me China's strategic trust for the next decade, and R&D was priority number 1, ICT, with key interests around artificial intelligence, blockchain, quantum computing, robotics, neuroscience. Essentially, every aspect of our lives are entirely dependent on ICT now. China is talking about digital connectivity, increasing data, computing through new infrastructure. So we cannot overemphasize how integral ICT is, not only in solving some of the challenges that COVID has presented, but also in moving the world forward, an integral part of the 4th phase of the Industrial Revolution. Now, as an academic, these things are of interest to me. I'm looking to reconfigure new programs around these realities that we might we must all position our students to take full advantage of. So if you look at what is happening now in terms of skill requirements, in our own backyard, our National Accreditation Board, which is now called GTEC, used not to accept online degrees. You got a master's or a PhD from any university in the world, they'll tell you it was a second-rated degree. It has to be mortar and brick. You have to be in the classroom. Now, we still haven't seen a coherent policy on ICT. Nobody has come out explicitly to state whether we now accept these degrees or not. But it is obvious that COVID has brought us to the point, essentially what the Americans would call the fork in the road, where we have to take a direction. And the direction is that ICT is going to be the fundamental basis of higher education going forward. If we call it blended or otherwise, the bottom line is that ICT is going to support this infrastructure. So there will be no more secondary degrees and second-rated degrees. All degrees will depend on the skill set that you're going to be able to exhibit when you get into the workspace. So I think we're going to need, and for as you all know, when computers first started, it was for secretaries. And then somebody realized that more money could be made from it, and then the boys stepped in and took the job from the women. And we've been working hard ever since to bring the women back into computing. But secretariatship was a woman's job for many, many decades. And then computers came, and then the boys tried to steal it, to be politically incorrect. So the ability to use a PC is going to be assumed going forward. The ability to use a computer is no longer going to be a luxury that we can escape. It's going to be a reality. The ability to use it remotely, to work with other people, to connect into virtual teams is a skill set that is going to be required. Now, one of the things that also came from COVID is that local content is important. If you have an institution in Ghana, it is very difficult to have somebody in China updating your content for you. Yes, they may know how to design a web platform, but they will not be able to develop the content or manage the content for you. So we are going to need a lot of people with skill set to be able to develop materials that are in the local content. So whether they are digital marketers, whether they are programmers, these are all skill sets that we are going to need for local innovation. Software developers, and who is going to be able to develop a software that manages cassava or cocoyam or oranges supply chain than somebody who is in the ecosystem. The other areas that I think are going to evolve very soon is telemedicine. How do you get access to treatment when you are in a lockdown mode and you can't go anywhere? Who are the people that are going to be developing these systems? They're going to be ICT guys. So whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in education, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in financial access, all these systems are going to require really, really good skill set that also understand the local environment in which these applications are required. Anytime I go on Amazon, and I can tell you in the last 2 weeks, I've spent maybe $2,000 buying stuff on Amazon. And I'm thinking the Chinese have Alibaba. And I ask, what do the Africans have? So when are we going to stop believing that everything that is foreign is best, and that we cannot develop similar systems to play effectively in this avenue where there is so much money left on the table? So e-entrepreneurship, we talk a lot about entrepreneurship in this part of the world. In fact, we live the entrepreneurship experience every single day, whether in our traffic lights or whether in our desire. If you go to Registrar General Department, there are thousands and thousands of companies that get registered every day. So entrepreneurship is not something somebody can come teach us. But how can we optimize this outcome using the opportunities that ICT provides? So I across the board, I see entrepreneurs accessing new revenue streams with ICT as the underpinning technology. Now, ICT is so broad. You know, I tell you that our ancestors were probably using ICT without knowing it. I mean, when I was a kid, when we go to the farm, you see a scarecrow. And when the wind blows, it makes noise. For me, that was artificial intelligence. You know, when you wanted to determine, or grandma wanted to winnow her grains, she'll fetch sand, throw it in the air, and watch the direction of the wind. That was artificial intelligence. Okay. Old ladies, old men, elders will look into the skies and tell you that it's about to rain. There was a certain database somewhere in their mind that over the years, they have trained and continue to train and refine. And so you talk about deep learning, among other things. So these only come back to Africa as new buzzwords. These things have often lived with us. We have the famous story about Anansi trying to climb a tree, carrying a box of all the knowledge in the world. And just as it was about to mount it, well, it mounted a box in front of his belly, so it couldn't climb the tree and kept slipping. And so what happens? A dove that was flying past said, "Hey, fool, why don't you put the box behind you? And it will be a whole lot easier for you to climb." And the spider was so upset, threw the box down, and knowledge spread across the world again. What that creature was trying to do was to create a database, use cybersecurity to ensure that nobody got access to it without going through, or her, for that matter. They're talking about cloud computing, network connectivity. All these interesting buzzwords we call today have always been an integral part of our folklore. And so indigenization of technology is something that I've always emphasized, that looking out is always good, but there is so much even in our local languages and our traditions that we can bring to bear. So, you know, without further ado, I will wrap up here, but the takeaways for you in terms of skills that employers are looking for are all in ICT. They are going to look for these because the next trust that the market forces are going to drive are all going to, most of them are going to be on the ICT platform. And so whether it's through engineering, whether it's you know, you can order from the comfort of your office, or it is e-entrepreneurship, meaning that we build our own platform. We are going to use a collection of skill sets with strong fundamentals in ICT to make these possible. So in conclusion, ICT is no longer an option. ICT is no longer something that you can skip. ICT is your friend, and that friend is going to push this nation to the level that it ought to be. So I'd like to stop here. I see a hand from Elliot.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Fred Mangalori is the president of the Academic City University College. And I'd like to entreat all participants, please, if you want to ask questions, we have the Q&A column. And then also, if you want to contribute to what is being presented, you would also have to go to the chat column. And also, if you want to ask him a question, you can raise your hand and then we would allow you to speak so that you can also come on. Thank you very much, Prof, once again. And the quick question that I would want to ask you, Prof, are you there, please?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, the quick question that I want to ask you is, what do you think we need, you know, to push these entrepreneurs to use technology to scale up? What do you think we need to do?
You know, so I like to say that institutions have a role to play as ours. So we started entrepreneurship. Okay. And embedded in that curriculum, we have a course every semester called Enterprise Development. And that enterprise development is a 3-hour slot that every student in entrepreneurship has to start to develop their own enterprise. So between you and your project, you decide what you want to do. So if you say, I want to put together my business canvas or my business plan, the end product at that semester is that you present that to your advisor.
Okay.
If the following semester you want to develop your financial modeling, you do your financial modeling. If the third semester you want to prototype and do your focus groups, you do that. But the whole intent is to be deliberate about you launching an enterprise before you walk off this campus.
Okay.
So I think that is a different way of just teaching entrepreneurship versus saying, bring an idea, we'll help you refine that idea and move it out. I think the second thing that we need to do more of is we actually need to train people on how to develop products. When you work closely with young adults, you realize that they get into the mood where they continue to develop forever without knowing at what point they ought to stop to declare a product. So I think some of the stuff that you guys are doing at IIP is really what we need to get this ecosystem for, to take full advantage of it.
Okay. All right. All right. So I have Abena Daku on the line who would want to ask you a question. So Abena, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, might have been a mistake to raise my hand. So.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. So Raji, are you online?
Yeah, I'm online.
Are you ready? Okay. So go ahead with your question.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Yeah, my question is.
Could you speak up a
basically
little bit, please?
Yeah, basically when the president talked about the new skill in ICT and all that.
Speak up a little bit, Raji, please. Are you there? Hello?
So my question is,
okay, good.
when you get the skills and this thing and the certification and all that, so how do you get in the field, in the industry, for you to explore what you know and what you have?
All right, thank you very much. Kindly unmute your voice section, please. And, Prof.
Yes.
If you can take 2-3 questions, then Prof can
answer. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's an interesting question. I think the question is really about getting a job, right? Once you have all the skill set and the certifications, how do you get a job? So the first starting point is that you apply for a job. You apply for a job. And look, one of the things that I tell my students all the time is that it is nice for you to come out of school and go apply for a job and get it. But one of the biggest secrets that most graduates do not take advantage of is coming in from the volunteer aspect as well. From the volunteer aspect as well. You have IIPGH today, which is an IT institute in this country. They do a lot of training programs across the country. They get contacted all the time by people looking for professionals in specific fields. If you don't have a job and you are sitting at home, you can volunteer to join one of their programs. You will learn new skills. When people reach out to them looking for employment, they can recommend you for that.
Okay.
So the ultimate thing is to apply for a job, but you can't also sit down and just keep sending applications around. You have to go out there and be part of some of these professional entities so that you can learn new skills, continue to polish your skills, and also to position yourself for recommendations and testimonies.
Okay. So, Prof, what you are simply saying is you have to volunteer.
It's a good starting point.
Come again?
I say it's a good starting point.
Sure. So volunteering is a very good place to, start when you really want to get into this area. All right. So I have Fidel Bochwe, who would also like to ask you a question. Fidel.
Okay.
Fidel. All right. So let me look out for another person here. All right, so Justice. Justice.
Yeah.
Good to have you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
All right, so go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, so my question is about seeking funding for, for using myself as an example, I got out of school, found a job, and I had a passion to create software. So I have created some products for myself that I think is good, I need. And I've spoken about people, done some market research, and I feel that people would want to use that product. But then I get somehow limited because I don't have the resources to be able to hit the market. I mean, do intense marketing, right? So then comes the issue of seeking for investment.
Okay.
And then there is really not, a framework or a kind of like easy access to investment in this part of the country. So I want to ask Prof if maybe there is a way that I don't know, he can point out to me, and maybe I can share it with some of my friends.
Okay, so quick one, Prof, before you answer this very one, when you were answering the question that Raji asked, you mentioned an IT firm in Ghana that he can log on to so that he can volunteer for other tech jobs that are available. So he wants to know the name of the firm.
Oh, I said IIPGH.
Okay, so Institute of ICT Professionals, Ghana.
Yes.
Samdeen, are you on?
Yes, please.
All right, so you're going to be the last person to ask Prof a question, and then the rest of you, I would encourage you to ask your questions under the Q&A. I'm sure that the Institute of ICT Professionals will definitely get back to you on your questions. So don't worry at all. Whatever question that you want to ask, just go ahead, right at the column of the Q&A and go and ask that question. Definitely, if our speakers are unable to answer you, Institute of ICT Professionals will definitely get back to you. So Samdeen, go ahead with your question right now. Samdeen, hello? Hello?
Yes, please, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Please, as you stated, my name is Samdeen.
Okay.
I would like Prof to give us a word of encouragement. Like some of us are starters, we have the passion from childhood, but we came to the university and things are getting tough to us. So I want Prof to help by giving us some word of encouragement for us to be able to get the film to continue with our study in school.
Thank you very much, Samdeen Mumuni. So, Prof, words of exhortation at this moment for you.
Okay. Well, you know, it's a tough world out there. Don't let anybody massage it for you. But that tough world also offers a lot of opportunities. It starts with every individual. You know, in my case, I like to tell the story that I grew up in Baulishi. Everybody likes to call it East Legon right now because it's a whole lot sexier to call it East Legon. But it was a little village, a little Ga village, that you could only see University of Ghana's campus on a windy night. And as you can tell, they are not really too far apart. So it was the deepest of darkness. And we used to walk the narrow path every day to University Star Village from across the hospital. We started off as 13 students. And by the time we got to class 6, it was about 6 of us. And out of the 6, I was the only one that went to secondary school, and the rest is history. Now, I'm not saying everybody has the strength to do these things, but you have to be focused, you have to be determined, you have to build strategic partnerships You know, I always tell students that if you want to become a medical doctor, you should be able to walk into a medical doctor's office and make an appointment to shadow them and say, I love your profession. I want to be a doctor. I want to see what the life of a doctor is every day. During holidays, can I come here once a week? These kinds of strategic relationships and partnerships can open opportunities for you that you cannot realize. You couldn't have realized on your own. The other piece that I touch on is that everybody graduates and they are home. And there are students that stay home for 8 years. And when their parents ask them what they are doing, they say, I'm looking for a job. I say, if you go out there and you volunteer your time, instead of sitting at home watching TV, playing video games and praying, if you go out there and you volunteer to train, to even teach Python, C programming somewhere, you get to meet people that you will not meet in the comfort of your sitting room. You get to share your aspirations with people that you will not be able to find anywhere to use a sounding board. Look, we can take this offline. You can get my contact from IIPGH. You know, I don't want this to be a therapeutic session. Sure. But there is so much you can do by repackaging yourself for success and being in that success. You have to manage your life like a project with start dates and end dates, and always understand that there will be adversity, there will be challenges. The end result is going to be about how you overcome that. So I'll stop here.
Thank you very much, Professor. Professor is also the board chairman of the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana. God bless you very much. And
they want to see your face again. Some people join late. They want to see Prof's face. So
okay.
Turn on his video for.
All right, so Prof, if you could come on, and then we have a link at the message column in case you want to get on the website of ICT Professionals. So please look over there at the message column and then get the link that can help you to register with them, all right? So can we all see Professor? Professor Fred McBangalore, President of Academic City University College. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I think the internet is not too good.
Yeah, so the internet is a bit.
He'll come back again during the Q&A.
Okay, so he's definitely going to come back, so don't worry at all. Let's quickly move on to our second speaker so that, you know, we can quickly get into the meat of why we're here today. And I'd like to welcome a very noble gentleman who happens to be the manager of Oracle Applications Territory East and West Africa. Before I mention his name, he's going to take us through critical ICT skills required to ensure continuity of business in this era of COVID-19. I'd like all of us to welcome Mr. Charles Osei.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I need to, you cannot start your video because the host,
can I see your face?
Yes, because the host should allow me to show my face.
Sure, he's going to do that right away.
Thank you very much. And I would like to also share my screen, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead and do that.
Yes, I want this. I'm so passionate that 15 minutes may not be enough, but we will manage, okay?
All right, we'll find a way for you when we get to the 50 minutes, so don't worry at all.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of speakers, so.
Sure. But I'll definitely find a way for you, don't worry. Continue to ask your questions at the Q&A column.
Yeah.
Because we will definitely get back to you on all the questions that you are asking. Just go ahead, ask the question, and Institute of ICT Professionals will definitely get back to you. I keep on saying that because they are here to help you so that you can get yourself acquainted with all the skills that you need when it comes to technology, they are really the #1 platform for you to learn all of these skills so that you can get yourself ready. All right, so I'm going to allow Mr. Charles to say.
Hello, everybody can see me now, can hear me now.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure everybody can.
Good, I'm sure. So there are quite a bit of number of people on the call, so I'm sure everybody can see me. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for the Institute for this wonderful opportunity. So as has been mentioned, my name is Charles Osei. I'm an ITC consultant, but I work currently as the applications territory manager for Oracle, focusing mainly on enterprise applications, with focus on what we call the customer experience applications, as in formerly CRM, all applications around sales, marketing, e-commerce platforms, right? It's not rolling. Is there a reason why? Okay, it's rolling now. Good. So probably to pick up from where Prof left and I love Prof's submission so much, you know. So if all the things that Prof said, especially the last bit which talks about people prepared to volunteer their knowledge in order to build not just the experience, but also the network. I think all this fits into one thing, attitude. For me personally, I believe attitude is everything. If you have the attitude, the right attitude and temperament, it will allow you to do what Prof was talking about. So I believe that this is very essential, that as much as your professional doesn't guarantee us jobs, we need to be able to position ourselves in order to get noticed. And how do we do that? I think I'll go through some of the things that I believe that we should, because what's happened over the years is, if you look at the industry, as you look at corporate bodies, they have seen IT as a cost center, as in they are spending on IT. IT, we have not been able to make a case to see our value. So if you take a bank, for example, the main application, so you go to the bank, right? How you are served through an application called core banking application, okay? That core banking application it's an application managed by IT, right? Sits on an infrastructure, sits on a database, okay? Sit within a network. All these are managed by IT, but that is it. The business over time thinks that IT are not delivering value because the core mandate of corporate bodies, for example, for a bank, is to sell money to a consumer, to enterprise bodies, to the government. Their core mandate is not to provide IT services, right? With time, what is happening is that the IT has evolved into the business of technology, instead of technology and business. So as IT people, we need to follow that trajectory, where you don't just code, but you code for what? Are you coding to develop a certain product and services for the consumer as an entrepreneur? Prof mentioned about entrepreneurship. Are you delivering a specific solution for HR? So MTN, for example, has how many branches, offices in Ghana? They have employees all over the country. Now, even before the pandemic, I'm sure they were trying to see how they can organize training for all these employees who are scattered all over Ghana. At times, they have to allow them to, they have to divide the country into 4 or 5 and bring all of them into a hotel somewhere and give them an hour training. Now, during and after the pandemic, there are now these solutions that allow them to give online trainings, quality applications. So, but how do we do these things? We do these things because you need to understand the business that you are in, the market that you are in, and move beyond just configurations into making a comprehensive business case, because we need to show our value. So if you look at corporate bodies or the enterprise environment or the industry, what is happening is that now people are hiring, they have a CIO or a CTO, they are hiring chief data officers, right? They are hiring chief digital officers, okay? It means that, and these roles are now being better or even recognized than the traditional CIO role because the business doesn't see value anymore. They are not seeing you as part of their core business or the services that they need to provide to their consumers in order for them to make money. Because at the end of the day, every business wants to make money, and shareholders have not backed down on getting more value for their money. So that trend is going to continue. Companies are going to rely on what gives them value, as in cost against revenue. And if we don't make ourselves relevant, we will not make the journey. We dropped out. So I then move on to, we need to, as I said, if you look at even the pandemic, before the pandemic, and I have worked in this industry for 8 years, okay? I started from previously what we used to call Westelt, it became Zen and became Etel. I moved on to a company in Australia called iVoice. It's a telecom company. I came back and I worked for Ericsson and HP, IBM, and Oracle. And all my life, I have been a middleman more between these huge technology companies and the businesses that we supply this. So I then need to understand the consumer, who is or the industry or government, what they want, not from an IT point of view, and then translate it to how these companies can serve them in order to show value. So I build not just the technology, but also the commercials and the legal framework around a solution. So solutions are no more, should I say, have developed something. No, it has to be able to give value to whatever target markets. Now, post-pandemic, the chart you are seeing now is a chart from McKinsey. And they are seeing, and I believe even though it's in US, you know, the problem, another problem is that in our part of the world, it's very difficult to get data like this. But I believe this trend basically talks about how Ghana and other West African countries are looking in terms of adoption of technology. And you see that lots more consumers, I'm sure in Ghana as well, are looking at, you know, doing banking transactions online. And if you look at the first time users against regular users, it's really interesting. So it should tell you from here that if you are developing a product or service, or you're interested in joining a specific industry, these are some of the things you need to understand. This industry that you are targeting with your custom, with your products, right, or your solutions, if you are an entrepreneur, or you are wishing to work for a particular industry, whether it's a telco or a bank, think beyond them. What is their customers, or the people, or the market that gives them revenue? What are they looking for? For me, that is my major message this morning. Other than that, you may be the best person when it comes to coding or designing network or cybersecurity compliance, but you will never get any meaningful revenue. Let me say job, because if you develop any solution, the market will buy it, you try to sell it yourself. And if you go for interviews, you don't show value. How many of us have gone for interviews and said, look, I can do A, B, C that can bring you revenues or an additional revenue of say 1 million every month, and show them with real figures and statistics based on the solutions that we have done. We go and say, we know how to do this, we know how to do that. So what? We need to be able to add value while moving on and adding the business justifications to whatever we have as a professional ICT. Now, if you have on what the consumer trend is, right? Everybody's going to looking at doing banking transactions online, and I think all of us, if you think as individuals, are doing the same. We looked at buying clothes online, look at buying food online, right? Even insurance as well. So anytime that we are developing products and services solutions, these are the kind of indicators that we should look for from the market. Now for industry, it's all about a business case. And the business case is to tell them, if I invest X amount of money, how much will I make? Yeah, say, why, these people, they like money, but hey, that is why they're in business, to make money. So companies, they want to do more with less. Industries want to do more with less. In fact, I'll even stretch it to consumers. Consumers want to do more with what? Less. So if you look at all the things that I'm showing on this screen, industries are hoping to use AI, right? And these AIs, most of them now, and machine learning technologies are found in the cloud. All right, they're hoping to roll out. It's a very competitive environment, so they are trying to roll out products and services quickly, right, onto the market. Also, that is why the issue of cloud computing has become very, very, very important, because it has the necessary platform that allows you to, as you need it, we call it as you need it, right? For those of you who are developing solutions, I'm not sure you have to wait to buy, nowadays you have to buy server, storage, and all those things before you start. I mean, if you go to Amazon, you go to Azure, go to Oracle Cloud, all these people have the platforms that necessary development applications that will allow you to develop things very quickly, right? This is what the companies are looking for, okay? They are looking for always on. It means that it doesn't have to go off, okay? The solution works today, tomorrow, because the data center is down. No, all right? So all they want to be able to, they want a fast, easy to use applications. And most of the time, what has happened is that most of these data centers within our region doesn't have the computing power and the storage power, and even the security at times to be able to process these transactions as fast as possible. And right now, with increasing connectivity and availability of LTE around our region to 5G, the tendency for companies to begin to rely on centralized data centers outside the country is very important. And that is why I buy into Prof's argument of localization, because let's assume that they all move into centralized data centers to host their applications and their services. We still need localization or customization of these applications that are delivered onto specific markets like Ghana. Now, these centralized services, right, that are being done now, what we call the money services, where we are sourcing certain operations, also, remember, it's global. So I've seen people who are in India, but are working for a data center in the US. It's all about the kind of unique skill that you bring into the game, okay? So industry are also looking for skills around these. So those of you who are looking to apply for jobs, please keep these trends in mind, okay? They are looking to deliver quick applications on the cloud, so your knowledge of cloud architecture is very important. Security, of course, key. Compliance, key, okay? They are looking at big data. So at the end of the day, all these, because let's face it, the environment has become so competitive that everybody wants to have his own unique value proposition to its end user, right? The only way you can do that is your ability to get data, to process it, and to make meaningful insights out of them. That's the only way you can differentiate yourself. And that is why there's a saying nowadays that data is now the oil, or is going to be the oil. Okay, so the issue of data science has become very, very, very important. And I'm sure most of you understand what data science is, and that I may want to explain it if somebody wants to ask a question on that. So all the companies, like I said, are embarking on what we call digital transformation, i.e. bringing digital technology to enhance and to automate the operations. And if you look at this sheet, you are looking at it in two main ways. You are looking at increasing revenue, like I've said, as in selling more or bringing more revenues. And then when they bring it, they should retain that revenue at least or grow it, and cleaning the operation efficiency. So I told you the issue of how right now, for example, IT staffs, if you look at the trend, the number of IT staff within companies are going to reduce. They are going to go down. It doesn't mean there are no jobs, because Doc has mentioned and have repeated that there are still gaps. There are still the issue of localization. All right, there are actually the issue of local security compliance. It's still there. There's still market demand from consumers for products and services, but we need to understand it to develop the products and services for them. Okay, it's very important. So you can see companies who continue to behave what you see on the screen, and they are looking into mobile apps. So services on the go. Consumers want to have service everywhere they are, right? The issue of cloud, I've mentioned it. Big data analytics, using structured and unstructured data to be able to mine it and make insights for decision making is very important. The issue of automation of customer engagement using a chatbot is very key. The use of AL and ML to automate things so that to minimize the errors within our setup, ITC setup, is very important. And of course, Internet of Things. Now, below this is our traditional IT infrastructure, hardware, server, storage, and all that. It's still very important. But the issue is, with time, it's about business model and what makes the companies look good on their balance sheet. Okay, so these data centers, the traditional IT of just configuring servers and storage, is now globalized. So you have to look beyond that now. It doesn't mean they are there, but a few people will be getting jobs because of the globalization of it. You understand me? The issue of security and compliance, which underpin all the applications and innovations that are coming out, is still relevant. And there are a lot of jobs that are going to come from there, either from a private, either from an individual or a private company, or within the corporate bodies. Now, corporate bodies have started outsourcing their whole security infrastructure. So we have third-party companies that are actually monitoring the environment of corporate bodies. This is a business on its own. This is a business on its own. And you can monitor companies around the world in Ghana without being in the US, because the web allows us to do that. So why can't you be in Ghana, come together, form a company that monitors and secure people's network for them? It is possible, because it's economic of scale, right? If I have, and that is what is going on now. If I have 10 people here and I have 100 customers, the cost per customer is low. So I can go to Bank A or Telecom A and say, look, you know what? And this is what we need to do, my brothers and sisters. We need to be able to go there. I can say, look, Bank A, you know what? How much do you spend on protecting your environment, for example? You spend, and these institutions right now, the financial will give you the numbers. It's about $100,000 a year. So if you look at per head, maybe about how many? $10,000, a month. Okay, we'll give you $5. Why? Because you are using 10 people to manage 10 customers, right? And this is happening. So we need to think outside the box. And we can only do that if we understand what our customers and what our customers really want. Now, this is just to tell you that, hello?
Yes, I'm here. We have about 2 minutes with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll finish quickly. All right. So this is the technology trend, as you can see. I've mentioned them already. I just wanted to show you graphically. This is from IBM survey that they did. That shows clearly where, so if you are going to training and stuff, you know where to channel your energy, right? And I think Doc has also mentioned the robotics and robotic automation processing, artificial intelligence are all things that you need to know. And then last but not the least, I said I wouldn't, you know, I mean, people, because of the topic that was given to me, I think people would like to know some of the essential skills that, you know, that you may want to look into. So these are some of them. You see, there is project management, very important. In fact, most of the problems we have in our part of the world is the issue of projects. Projects that are supposed to last for 1 year, last for 3-5 years. That is cost. That is very important. You see here, IT service management. That's what I was talking about. So companies more and more are beginning to outsource their basic IT requirements, okay? Which I talked about, keeping the light on, okay? You configure a server and that is it. No, that 1 billion people in the world can do that. What makes you special is the additional value that you can show you're adding to the company in terms of their revenue line. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Osei. In case you just joined us, he is the manager of Oracle Applications Territory, East and West Africa. And it is clear that there's so much that you want to give out, so much from your presentation. And I look forward for us to have a live session whereby we invite people to come over so that, you know, we can give you all the time that you need. All right, so I want to quickly go into the participant column, and I have one of you asking whether you received a recorded meeting, and because your network is not really good over there. And the answer is yes, you will receive the link to the recorded video. And if you want to become a member of the Institute of ICT Professionals, please, we also have a link at the chat column. Go there and then sign up to that very link. All right, so quickly, I want to ask you, Mr. Charles Osei, I have a question here coming from Michael Osankwe, and then he says he wants to ask what is being done by policymakers or influencers to ensure that interest in ICT is not curtailed before you even start. And the reason is, in Ghana, you are often cut off before you get into the tertiary institution based on the subject you did in SHS. I couldn't go straight into studying computer science because I did business administration at SHS level. Hence, I took the path of doing professional courses in IT-related field, as well as gaining volunteering experience. Yet it wasn't accepted as being a valid candidate for computer science. Although I am currently taking BSc in information technology after years of completing SHS, how do we address such issues in the future to improve IT?
Oh, well, this question. So my take on this is that you really don't, IT, I see it is a passion. Okay? Some of the most successful IT companies in the world were not really started by IT people. Okay, so if you did business, it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot do IT. Right now, with the world of e-learning, you can study anything you want, you know, online. And once, like I said, you're able to prove your value, you will succeed. Other value in terms of having your own products and services that the consumers or the market wants, or showing your value to the industry which you have developed a specific product for. The second phase is, I think that, and that is why institutes like this is very important, that they continue to engage the government of the importance of having the right skill set. And I've mentioned quite a bit of them. I think even in my presentation, you can really imagine the threat. You can do a SWOT analysis of what I've done this morning.
Please, can you show that slide again, the slide before the final slide, where you show the jobs?
Let me share my screen. Here. If you look at the web, you see a lot, but most of them fall within this.
Full screen.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, presentation.
Yes, I can.
Presentation mode, yes.
Yes. So most of them, all the ones I saw, so most of them fall within these, okay? And the good thing about this is that they added, I like the issue of project management and IT services, which is where the business, you understand me, is the easiest place to hit when it comes to the traditional IT job, right? especially the IT services manager. If you look at the statement I put on the right, maybe I went off, so most of you didn't see it. Computer programming jobs are expected to decline 7% by 2028, but coding jobs, a subset of programming, should increase to 28 million worldwide in the next few years. Python, JavaScript, C++ are some of the more popular programming languages. As mobile game popularity, like I told you, people want access to solutions, services on the go. We do everything on mobile now, okay? So people are not just coding for coding's sake. There's a reason for the coding because of the demand. You see, they didn't just add just coding, but they added why people are coding. You understand me? So it's always important that we tie what we are doing to some value that society or companies will gain. And for me, that is very important to differentiate that, and also to make us marketable to the job. So back to the question. So I think that, you know, institutions like this, and also the IT departments or the various institutions in Ghana, will need to find a way of influencing the government in some of these policy decisions. I mean, we've seen the government talking about digitizing the, you know, the economy, which we can mention 1 million benefits of that. But how are they doing it? There are a lot of, and I have had the opportunity to look into it, and there are a lot of interesting local content in there. Okay. So if you look at the government platform that the GRA is using now to collect, what do you call it? You collect taxes, not taxes from the port, right? If you want to import something, you go to a Ghana.gov portal. That portal was developed by a local consortium of, I think, 2 or 3 local companies. Okay. But they came out with the idea with the business case and shared with the vice president. You understand me? They didn't just go and say that we have done the platform. Why with the benefit with facts and figures? Shared with somebody who knew the vice president, and the person sent it to the vice president, and somehow they got that deal. So we need to think out of the box and continue to engage. It's not just about producing students, but we should produce students also that are able to go beyond the normal coding and to make a case. That is why the issue of entrepreneurship being outside the normal, should I say, the normal IT courses is very important. And I think Prof touched on that as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Charles Ose. We are not done with you yet. I would want to find out who would want to ask you a question. Please raise your hand at the column that is under the screen so that, you know, you can ask your question right away. Mr. Charles Ose, Manager, Oracle Applications Territory, East and West Africa. Please kindly raise your hand. Okay, so we have one person here. Let me quickly allow you to talk. All right. Okay, so.
Hello.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
come again.
I hear you now.
Come again. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. What's your name, please?
Okay. My name is Musab.
All right, go ahead with your question.
Okay, my question is that, like, if we want to join maybe international like MTN or Voda company for IT job, if you go for master degree, it can help you for that, or it's just if you take some technical courses is better?
So, well, so it's a question, right? Whether you think the formal academic training for IT is better than professional courses. I'll say it depends on what you want to do, because even for the traditional academic trajectory or a line of education, you still need specialization. Those specializations, you get it in the formal classroom. Those specializations now, is you get it on doing extra professional courses, either online or in the same institution that you went to. And if you look at a lot of the essential skills that you found on the left, right? The only few of them that are taught in the classroom, the formal classroom, right? Most of them you need to do extra specialization to be able, and it's very important that you specialize, but you must identify for what you do. nowadays. Just that you have to be able to be in an area where you become, again, the value is very, very important. And also do things that you love to do, because that's allow you to excel in what you are doing.
All right. Thank you very much, Musa.
Okay,
and thank you very much.
I have another question.
No, please, let's give another person the opportunity, okay?
Okay, fine.
Musa, let's give another. We are going to take the last question, but then before that, I would also want everybody to know that the Institute of ICT Professionals, they have a coding program that I'm sure that all of you will be interested in. In some few minutes, I would call on the Executive Director of the Institute of ICT Professionals, Mr. David Gowu, to sort of take us through that, so that you can also see some of the things that you can enroll yourself in and then get yourself acquainted with the tech skills that you need. These are programs for kids, students, graduates, and professionals. So let's allow Moses. Moses, are you there? Hello, Moses.
Yeah, hello. Good.
Okay. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, okay. So my question basically is about not having a degree in computer science, but you taught yourself how to program, how to code, and you have a lot of projects. So is it possible for you to get into the job market here in Ghana? Because I'm a Nigerian and I moved to Ghana 2 years ago. So what
Musa, please, if you can go off. Musa, we can still hear you. Please go off. And then Moses.
Yeah, hello.
Okay.
All right. So Moses.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we are clear. Go on.
Yeah, so I wanted to know if it's possible to get into the job market in Ghana here as a self-taught programmer, or let me say developer, software developer, if that's possible. So that's my question. I wanted to know if it's possible to get into the job market here in Ghana and as a foreigner too.
Okay.
Yes, the simple answer is yes. Again, it depends on the value you add to wherever you want to do. My immediate answer, yes. And then also, as in Nigeria, I remember when you develop a product or service, you understand the product or service for whom, the market for whom you develop for. It doesn't have to be just Ghana or Nigeria as a market target. The whole world I have on your web. So we must, like I told you, there are people who are sitting in India and Philippines are working for companies in Russia and Australia and in the US. So again, we have to look beyond the Ghana market and be able to stretch our tentacles a little bit. So yes, it's possible, but it depends on what you bring to it.
All right. So let me get to the final question. Thank you, Moses. Thank you. Hello, I have completed, and it's coming from Samuel Mensah. Hello, I've completed SHS and yet to get into the university. I know Python and CTT, which I use in robotics and computer vision, but I feel like getting a job within these sectors. Are nearly impossible. Currently, I teach robotics with an NGO. I would like to ask Mr. Charles, or say if I should defect to something else like app development. Thank you.
So if I may ask, what have you done with it apart from the teaching, which is good, with your coding? I mean, that would be interesting, right?
Yes.
Because again, you must tie whatever you are doing to some value that a company is getting or the consumer is getting. So it's very important that we look beyond just the coding. It's very important. Other than that, yeah, I mean, you can get to academic and allow lecturers, and I believe that the country needs to do more for them. But if you are thinking about leaving teaching an NGO into industry, you need to do something with your coding that the industry, the particular industry, or the consumer wants, so that you can either target the end user consumer with what you've done, or go into the industry and prove to them the value you bring to them. Most of the time, I realize that people develop fantastic solutions, but they cannot put together a value proposition, which is adding the commercial component of the solution or application that you've just developed. And for me, that is something that's probably Prof and Co will pick it up, and if I hear him, something that they are working on.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Osei. Thank you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you. All right, so the all-important question for today will be what available ICT jobs and the requirement expected from job seekers. And pretty shortly, we will be getting into that, and we have a special team that I will be calling upon, and they will take us through every one of them so that, some of your worries and your cares and concerns will be taken care of. But before that, I'd like to invite the Executive Director of Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana, Mr. David Gowu, who will take us through a coding program that they have for all of us.
Thank you very much. I think we still have two hands up. Let's give them the opportunity.
Okay, we should go ahead. Okay, let me call them. Okay, who do we have here? Kindly raise your hand so that we allow you to talk.
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
All right, so I have Al Hassan. Al Hassan, can you hear me?
There's Albert first. There's Albert.
Okay, let's go with Albert.
Yeah, so my name is Albert Quay. I hope you can hear me, please.
Yes, Albert, you're clear.
Yes, please. So following up on some of the questions asked earlier, I remember Mr. Osei talked about the fact that it's not about only being able to configure or code, but it should bring value to your customer or your user. And I'm asking, in our parts of the world, especially in this country, it looks like much value is placed on workers who have obtained second degrees and all that. Having a first degree and having one or two professional certificates seem not to be enough. I know when you're talking about value, it also corresponds to you also getting some returns, because some of us have families we have to take care of and all that. So do we forget going through long academic, laurels and achievements, and then focus on that which will build us up technically, looking at the current state in our country, how they value more of academic prowess than the technical aspects of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. Albert, I think when it comes to ICT, IT and telco, I think the issue of degrees, first degree and second degree don't matter. If you can do a survey of the CTIOs, of most of these technical companies, right? Realize that their second degree is not even technical, it's MBA. Because they need to understand the business. You understand me? So the way I see it is, it's not for if you are going to do an accounting and you don't go to the formal education, probably you have to think about being a chartered accountant, not with technology. No. I've always said, right in the corner where you are a traditional, you are configuring, maybe you work in a data center or you work in an IT operations department where you are in charge of configuring application on the server, for example, right? Is that all you can do? I don't think so. Even within the company or outside the company, I believe you can do more. With that kind of knowledge, you can build on a lot of things that you can go into. So I think we have to allow our inner talent and abilities to come out. We must free ourselves. Because, then you are talking about returns means that there's no way someone like you will ever go and do a service for free. Meanwhile, those are some of the sacrifices that you need to make over time to enable you to get to where you want to go to. So I want to believe that sacrifice is also part of the skill we need to learn, provided you know where you are going. And this will be my answer to the question you just asked.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly go through some of the questions that we have here. I'm not going to be able to read all of them, but then I just want us to have an overview of some of the questions that people are asking. Please, I would like to find out from Prof what he thinks about the way most institutions in this country really happen not to really value professional certification. Even with the first degree in IT most institutions would rather want you to have a master's in order to pay you well. How can this be resolved? And that's coming from Albert Kwe. And then Elolu Agbeleke says, great, I want to thank Professor for the precise presentation. I want to ask how the concept of artificial intelligence, programming, robotics, etc., can be integrated into technical and vocational education and training programs in Ghana. I'm a professional. I'm passionate about transforming TV, ET with digital tools. Thank you, sir. I want to know which areas to emphasize on, skills or certifications. People have set and can do little, but others have the skills and passion. I cannot get the job as those certified can get. And then I have another one here. Do you have any platform where some of us have the ideas but inadequate in the programming to share for them to be developed into reality? I believe in ITB in a team effort. All right, so we have a link at the chat column where you can sign up to the Institute of ICT Professionals. Quickly go to that link and then sign up. I keep on saying that when you sign up with them, all your questions are going to be answered, and they're going to actually give you the opportunity to sign up to some of the things that they have that would help you to know where to go. I have another one here. What are the prospects for an IT personnel who also has some interest which cuts across the enterprise management and information systems on the world market? And then how to find investors. Okay, investors wasn't answered. Investors. Okay, thank you, sir. In your final submission, you spoke about project management being essential. Would you advise taking a PMP certification or master's in project management? And I think I would like to allow Mr. Charles Osei to take on with this very last question.
I think in terms of PMP, so MBA project manager, that's what I know. It comes with other soft skills. You understand me, like communications and stuff. I've seen the MBA project management. I've seen the professional as well. The professional is more focused on project management. So I believe it all depends, honestly speaking. In terms of your ability to deliver, that is for me very important. But in terms of the content of what you learn in terms of PMP, I think the PMP professional certification looks stronger. But it all depends on, again, what do you do with it? How do you network? I think Prof said all those things. I've said quite a bit. Two people can do, there are people who have done both and cannot work with it because they are just academic. They don't know how to manage projects. Because they can learn and pass, they learned and passed. So I think both are good, and I will recommend that you probably do one, you don't do both, because both, for me, from what I've seen from the content, both works.
Oh, all right, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge some of our partners here, MTN, right here, also with us. They also have a special team that will be coming up shortly. I also have Modern Ghana, BFT, Business 24. We have DG also with us, Code for Africa EV, Cody Africa, and much more. I will be coming up with some of these names, and these people are our partners with this very Zoom or webinar that we are having right now. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Osei. Thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. David Gowu so that he can take us through the models that they have for the coding quickly so that we can invite MTN to take over from here. All right, so we have
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Charles Osei. Really insightful. I mean, you've given us a lot this morning. You talked about why people need the basics of coding, something that we have been promoting for the past 3 years that we've been doing this. And we believe that these basic skills are required. And then there are additional skills like project management, business intelligence, and others. For example, I did my PMP a decade ago, and I can say that for the past 10 years, it has really helped me in managing projects. Even if we talk about Institute of ICT Professionals being a project, project management has been a key aspect of it. Even this program we're running now requires project management. So project management is key to successful delivery. Now, with the Institute of ICT Professionals, as mentioned, it's a professional association. What do? We mobilize professionals, we bring them on board, and then we use the skill set of these professionals to basically build capacity in the technology field. And one of the things we have been doing quite well is the coding program, basically taking kids, graduates, professionals, and other people who are interested in understanding these skill sets that are required for advanced technological deployment to get involved. So our programs are in modules. We do the early start, which is for kids from 6 to 12, and then we do for teenage and graduate students, and then we have for professionals. So I'll just take you just 3 slides, just 5 minutes or less. So for the KISS program, we have what we call Scratch. Scratch is a programming language, a block-based programming language that is good for kids. You can see there in the picture, kids can use this to put together blocks, develop stories, animations, video games, and stuff like that. And they are very, very excited about this. We have over 250 kids currently learning online, of course, using Zoom and other tools, and are able to, express themselves, learn new things, critical thinking. And as you can see, from this code, someday computer literacy will be a condition for employment, possibly for survival, because the computer illiterate will be cut off from most sources of information. So we want to get young people to be involved in this, learn. So the Scratch program, we have Scratch 1, 2, 3, which is the basic or the beginners, the intermediate and advanced. And then we have App Inventor, also the same, and we have Code It. These are all, beginners program for children that help them to, begin to like computer programming. Then we have what we have for teenagers and above. So we have web development. So again, our program is very structured. We have very trained tutors, and these tutors are professionals who are from an industry that volunteer time to teach young people how to code just for a token fee. So for example, we have the web development class starting from web design 1 up to web design 6 or web design 4. And then we have the full stack development and then the mobile app development. So they are in stages. You do WordPress, you do JavaScript, you do SQL, you do databases and stuff like that. Then we also focus on data science. In the previous submission from Mr. Charles Osei, he talked a lot about, data science, machine learning, about data visualization, and all these things will require some basic skills first. So we start with the Python for Beginners. Python for Beginners program is a programming language that we are designed for people who don't have even any knowledge at all about computer programming to come in, begin to learn how to code using Python programming, very widely used, and people can actually build on anything from there, so it's a general purpose programming language that can be used. So the ability to code allows you to write new types of things, You can express yourself, you can write stories, games, animation, and this is all possible with the Python programming. So these are the modules that we run, and for those who are interested, our next program is starting on the 10th of April, and you can actually join. For kids and teenagers, this is 200 cedis per month, and for adults, it's 300 cedis per month. And you can start your programming journey with Python, or for kids, you can start with Scratch and web design. I will share the link for registration in the chat so that those who are interested can register. Those who are interested in registering their kids or their little siblings or nieces or nephews, please, you can do that, and they can all learn. They can connect from any part of the world because this is done online. And it's very, very interactive. Currently, we have over 250 students that are learning and at different stages of the programming language. Thank you very much. I don't want to take much of your time. Today is about Tech Job Fair, but we just want to explain that these skills are important for people. They're important that we get young people especially to start learning them so that in the future it will be of great use to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. David Go. And the message is pretty clear now. Technology is the way. And as quick as you get yourself ready about it in terms of learning the skills that you need to learn so that you can be part of the way the world is going, and that happens to be the new normal. It's just what you have to do right now. And like I said earlier on, we have a special team coming from MTN. Before that, I'd like to introduce their lead.
Before you even talk about that, we have a promo for those who register for the coding from MTN, where we're going to give you 10 GB data if you register and be part of the coding program. And this is free and this is complimentary, 10 GB data if you just register and go through the process and join our coding program. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you once again. So I was saying earlier on that the big question, or when it comes to technology jobs, one of the questions that I think most of you are asking yourself is, what are the available ICT jobs and the requirements expected from job seekers? And to help us know some of these things that we continue to ask ourselves, I'm going to invite the Senior Specialist of Organizational Development, MTN Ghana, to take us through available ICT jobs and the requirements expected from job seekers. She happens to be Ernestina Akins. Hello.
Hello, Kwesi.
Hello, Ernestina. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank
Good
you
to
for
have
that
you
generous
here.
introduction. Good to be here too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Trust we are all well and keeping safe in these times. So I'll be presenting on the available ICT jobs and requirements from the from job seekers, basically. But I won't be doing this alone. I'll be doing this together with my co-panelists from MTN. So I would like to introduce them, if you would kindly permit me. We have Estelle Asari. She's the Senior Manager, Enterprise Business Commercial Enablement for MTN Ghana. Winifred Della Seto-Smith. She's the Senior Manager, Enterprise Risk Management. And then we have Emilia Asiedu Ato, who is the Manager FX for MTN. Hi, ladies. And my able self, Ernestina Akins, Senior Specialist, Organizational Development.
Hello, Ernestina, and hello to your team, team IIPGH.
Thank you.
Hello,
everybody. Hi. All right. So Winifred will be projecting on my behalf. Kwesi, kindly confirm when this, the slides come up.
Sure, I will do so.
Thank you.
All right, so we have the slide. Okay, that's coming from Institute of ICT. Is that the one from you?
Yes.
Okay, so we have it now.
Yes, thank you. Great. All right, so I'll be presenting on the available ICT jobs and what we require from job seekers from the HRM perspective. Like all the previous speakers have said, the job market is changing, and it's changing because of so many reasons, key amongst them being automation. So over time, we see that the basic requirement for jobs have changed. In the past, there are certain requirements, certain skill sets that the workforce needed to have to be able to get onto the job market. However, these days, basic ICT skills are a key requirement for every job. So the minimum you should have is a basic ICT skills. Your knowledge of the computer and everything around it should be part of your skill set. And then over time, the evolving impact of demographics and your digital natives in the workplace, we see the emergence of the digital natives, people who have been born and lived all their lives in a digital media saturated environment, and all what they know is the computer. So these people are influencing the workplace demographics to a very large extent. And then also we see customer demands informing who organizations hire. In what sense? These days, organizations would want to focus on what their customers want, what their preferences are, what they need to be able to hire the right capabilities. So, I mean, you don't have a choice but to increasingly adapt your capabilities to the changing preferences of your customers, or you risk being overtaken by competition. And then there is an increasing dependency on technology. You would agree with me that these days, everything is virtual, almost everything is virtual. And our dependency on technology is such that almost all our needs can be met by technology. Okay, and especially in these times of the pandemic where you need to be online, else you can't get anything done. It's really important that our skill sets are around that space. So basically, these are the various areas of the job market that are expected to change. And of course, they've started changing, and going to the future, it would progress. All right, what's the context in which we operate as an industry? We operate in an industry where there are ever evolving technologies. So we are constantly being bombarded with concepts like cloud computing, robotic automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, 5G. These are the concepts changing the world. They're driving the world now. And it's good that our workforce, shifts their talents into that space. So whatever the industry does needs to be tailored around these ever-evolving technologies. Competition and first mover advantage. These days, most organizations are opening up their businesses to investors, to shareholders. And these shareholders and investors, of course, would invest because they need to see some profit, they need to see some money. Okay, so as a business, how do you make this profit? You need to beat competition and be a first mover to the market. How do you do that? With the right competencies, with the right capabilities, with the right skill set within your organization. So your hiring, your recruitment strategies are tailored around this, being agile enough to be able to move onto the job market. And then ever evolving business risk. Business risks for organizations have evolved. So in the past, if you heard of business risk, you'll be thinking damage by flood or by fire or physical damage. But these days, risks go beyond that. We face the risk of being attacked by hackers and all these people who wouldn't have to do it physically, but would have to do it virtually, and then your business would go down. So your skill set within the organization should be aligned to these needs you have as a business. And then we're operating in the global virtual workspace as well. So these days, everything is virtual, everything is global. So your skill set needs to be globally competitive and not just locally focused. So whatever whoever you're hiring should be flexible enough, should be mobile enough, should be able to compete with talent globally, regardless of where they are coming from. And then regulation and regulated innovation. Our industry is one that is highly regulated. And you can't innovate without having to adhere to certain compliances and certain laws and regulations around your industry. So whoever you would be bringing on board should be aligned to some of these factors impacting your business. And then your brand reputation, image, and investor decision making. Because investors are now coming into our industry, because they are investing a whole lot, they are determining the long-term strategies of most of these organizations. And most of these long-term strategies are around sustainability, around things that would impact your environment, your social and governance issues. So your investors are making decisions around these areas. And as a business or as an industry, you need to have skill sets around these areas. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is giving some global context on likely technologies to be adopted by 2025. And I culled this from the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Survey 2020. It shows you the key technology trends from now till 2025. So by 2025, most organizations, the world would have moved to these technology trends. So cloud computing, big data analytics, Internet of Things, encryption and cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, 3D and 4D printing, power storage, robots, humanoids, augmented and virtual reality, quantum computing. And it should give you a guide as to where we are going as a world, as to where we're going as an industry. So your capabilities, your skill sets, whatever development you want to undergo should be aligned to these areas. Okay, so these are job role trends. And this is also culled from the World Economic Forum Job Survey 2020. It shows you the top 20 jobs on the increase and top 20 jobs on the decrease. And they are basically increasing or decreasing based on automation significantly. I mean, automation is causing these two areas to either shift upwards or downwards. And what are the jobs decreasing? Your data entry clerks, your administrative and executive secretaries, accountant clerks, your accountants, auditors. Accountants and auditors specifically because these days they are off the shelf, accounting tools you can use to manage some of these things. So you may not necessarily need fiscal accountants to be present in your workspace. Mechanics and machinery repairers, financial analysts, postal service clerks, and all these people, bank tellers and related clerks, electronic and telecoms installers and repairers, human resource specialists, training development specialists, construction laborers, and all these people. Over time, we see that their job roles are constantly moving down. And then those on the increase are your data analysts and scientists. All the speakers before me have spoken up significantly about the increase, the impact of data analytics and data science on our industry. AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists, process automation specialists, your digital transformation people, your information security, Internet of Things specialists, project managers, and project management keeps coming through in all the discussions so far. Robotics engineers, strategic advisors, fintech engineers, mechanics and machinery repairers, risk management specialists. So this will give you a guide as to where we are going in terms of job role trends. So those on the increase would give you a view of which areas may not necessarily be important going forward into the automated age and which jobs will be very important going forward. So we come home to Ghana, what jobs are in high demand and unfortunately have very limited supply. So you have your information or cybersecurity skills. These days, organizations face the threat of attackers who want to breach their systems, their networks, and make organizations vulnerable. So they would want to put in place the right regulatory plans and policies to ensure that they are very secure in terms of their systems and their network. Hence, a focus on hiring more people around this area of cyber security or information security. You have your system integrators. So we're moving into automation. So how do you automate your business initiatives and your system initiatives as well? You need to have programmers, developers, people with that skill to be able to integrate all these initiatives into one place for you. And they're a key focus in the job market these days. Data science, business intelligence, data analyst, business analyst is the same stream of job. So they all focus on one thing, translating figures into English, basically, for decision making. So they translate all the figures you are able to make into plain English for you to understand, and then based on that, you make the right decisions. So this skill set enables organizations to investigate user behavior and use advanced programming skills to make informed decisions. And then your projects or program managers. Okay, so now we're moving into a very projectized world. So everything is getting projectized, every work is getting projectized. So in the past, where roles were a generalist and specialist and people were focused on doing the same thing, you know, all alone, is shifting. So now we're moving into a projectized environment where people with certain capabilities are pulled together, you know, to be able to, you know, deliver targets or projects that the organization may need. So going forward, Agile, Scrum, Kanban are skill sets that are needed in the work environment. And then compliance. It's really important that we focus on internal and external, you know, compliance. So going forward, the manager who is very governance driven, compliance driven would rule the world in the job market. Okay, so I mean, these are just a few in Ghana that I just wanted to focus on. These are a few areas that locally we see very limited supply in terms of the skill sets, and it will be a good guide if you want to explore these areas. Aside the technical areas, we'll see the behavioral and complementary skills that organizations look out for. So yet again, I pulled this from the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Survey 2020. And it shows you which top 15 skills organizations are looking out for when hiring. The top is analytical thinking and innovation. So these days, it's important that you get the right skill set who are able to analyze data information that gets to them, problem solve, and then who are able to make decisions in a very timely and prompt manner. Active learning and learning strategy. This goes hand in hand with adaptability and flexibility. So you should be a skill set, or you should be someone who has that temperament of lifelong learning, if I may put it that way. You should be ready to learn, else your skills will be redundant. Previously, you could acquire a skill and use it the entire life of your career. But these days, after 2 or 3 years, your skill is beginning to get redundant and you need to upgrade. So it's important that you are someone who is agile to learn and ready to acquire knowledge on the go. And then complex problem solving. Industry, the job market has become very complicated, and you need people who can think on their feet and able to, you know, solve problems in a very fast manner. Critical thinking and analysis. These days, you see a lot of misinformation flying around, fake news, and you know, all the misinformation going about. And for an employee or someone on the job market, you need to be able to find the right sources of information and then be able to use the right one to make informed decisions. So it's not just any information you fly with, but you sift through, find the right sources, find the good ones, and make the right decisions with it. Creativity, originality, and initiative. So although the machines, the robots are taking over, creativity is one thing that humans have an upper hand over the machines. So over time, our ability to imagine a new world, our ability to create new things and dream up new scenarios would keep us very relevant going forward on the job market. And then leadership and social influence. So you need to be a good leader. Okay, so a leader of yourself and leader of other people. So not just leading people by telling them what to do, but by enabling them to do what you want them to do. So basically, the leader of today is or the leader of the future is someone who is able to get the best out of everyone he or she works with. And then technology use, monitoring and control. You need to be abreast with technology trends. You need to be technologically savvy. Okay, so you need to understand what the trends are in the world of technology and how they are impacting your work. Okay, so key tech trends like the blockchain, augmented reality, 3D printing, and all these should be top-notch for you. If you don't know, at least you shouldn't have a view of the basics and how they impact what you do on a daily basis. Technology design and programming is also key. Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. You should be flexible enough to be able to thrive in today's job market. Your reasoning and problem solving and ideation skills are very key as well. Emotional intelligence is also very key. So you need to be aware of your own emotions, okay? And then be able to control them. And whilst at it, you need to be aware of other people's emotions because you don't work alone. These days, you're working very collaboratively, and it's important that the people you work with, you're able to collaborate with them, you're able to observe their emotions, understand how they are in terms of their temperaments and their personalities to be able to work well with them. So it's a very key one in the job market these days. Troubleshooting and user experience also key. Service orientation. So you need to be very customer centric. It's always about the customer. So I solve the customer problem. Is the customer happy? That is the focus these days. And it's not just about getting work done and moving on to the next one. And then your system analysis and evaluation. That's also key. Okay, and then persuasion and negotiation. You need to be an influencer. So the people you work with, you need to persuade them, negotiate with them. Your stakeholders, they are really important, and your ability to influence them would go a long way in keeping you relevant in the job market. You need also to be futuristic and strategic thinking. So just have a view of the bigger picture, not just of, your small workspace, but you need to have a view of what the bigger picture is. You need to have a good communication and presentation skills. You just don't have to be technically good, but you should be able to communicate your findings, what your research has come up with to people, to your stakeholders for them to understand. And you need to be able to do that very effectively. It's a very key skill. And for those of us who are very technical, our ability to communicate technical knowledge to non-technical people in a very effective manner is also important. And then our innovation mindset and proactivity, we need to be very innovative and not just stop at that, but whilst we are being innovative, we have to be proactive as well. So if you are innovative and you are very reactive, competition will always overtake you. So in as much as we are innovative, we need to be very proactive with our innovation. And then we need to be digitally savvy. And then customer centric, I talked about that. Our interpersonal skills, really, really important because you'll be working with people or you work with people who need you to be able to collaborate with them and help them. So your ability to do that seamlessly is key. Else most organizations won't look at you because they will deem you a bad matter and would be a bad influence on the rest of the team. Then leadership skills as well, and then you need to be change adapt. So today's professional needs to be very change adapt, willing to change and not change averse. So your ability to adapt to and influence timely change is also important. So basically that's it from my end. I would want to hand over to Estelle if there are no questions for me. Kwesi, could you kindly confirm, or you would want us to finish with all our presentations and then we can take the questions together? That would be equally good.
Yes, Ernestina, I believe we'll be taking the questions after the entire MTN panel comes through.
That's fine. Please go ahead, Estelle.
Okay, so good morning, and it's been a great session so far because we're quite a large group from MTN. So I would try and make it short so that the other members can also come in time. So on a personal experience front, I heard a couple of you talking about your ability to find work and transition. And I wanted to share something from a personal standpoint where I started from an engineering background. I did BSc Electrical Electronics and Telecom in KNUST. And so I entered MTN through the engineering field in the network operations, right? But throughout my experience, I realized that I was very interested in how business was impacting other businesses. So I moved into an area in enterprise sales operations. Now, I heard Charles mentioning about how your skills should be relevant in the commercial field. And I think that it's a very critical area that most people fail to understand when you're coming from a technical background, that as much as you are technical and doing very well at that, ultimately the organization you want to work for wants to know how you would impact their customers and then also impact on the bottom line. So I upskilled into the business area and then moved into operations and sales operations. And then furthermore, upskilled and then transitioned into enterprise product development. Again, I think Charles touched on that. How are we able to then use our technical skills to create a product or service that will make other people be able to achieve their objectives, whether it's a customer or it's a business. So I moved into the business area, into how we create products using telecommunication technology to solve business problems, and then transition furthermore to open up into enterprise marketing, which included enterprise customer experience, enterprise product development, and then enterprise data analytics. So I'm giving you the background in terms of my personal job history or career path, just to give you some perspective about the importance of transitioning and adapting to suit customer, business, and personal career paths, and then the opportunities that lie therein. So in the telecommunications sector, the career paths are varied. These are just a few. Okay, we have technology, that's strict technology that has engineering, information systems, customer system support, and other technical, strictly technical fields. We have a marketing field that goes into consumer marketing, that is creating products, services, propositions for consumers, and enterprise marketing, which looks at creating similar but for businesses. Again, in the sales perspective, some people may have asked, I'm an engineer, I'm a coder, how do I go into sales? Because you are the best person who understands the technology that another business needs. We have a lot of technical sales people who are able to communicate the benefits of technology to customers and businesses for them to understand the impact of this technology on their business. And so they're able to sell more than a traditional salesperson would do. So we shouldn't be very siloed in our approach to careers by thinking that because we are technical, we have to focus only on technical things, because there's a huge opportunity in the commercial space if you have a technical background and you are able to translate that technical background into commercial or customer value, to be able to engage the customers, to be able to engage businesses to understand how valuable the technology that you have can be to their business and improve upon their outcomes. Again, in the telecom sector, we have a stream in project management. Some of you may have done or may have heard of PMP, and then other project management courses. There's a stream of project management in our field that helps you to do business-to-business service delivery. That is taking technology into businesses. For example, if a business requires the interconnectivity of all their banking branches, right? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. You went off for a while.
Sorry, was I audible?
Just for like 10 seconds, but you're back.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay, can you go back then, please? Sorry. Winnie, can you kindly go back?
I'm still on the same on the slide you were on.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So can you hear me now, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So did you get me from the beginning?
Yes, we did.
Yes, you went off at the project management side.
Apologies. That's fine. So on the project management side, we have careers within our field that handle civil projects. So people that go and build the towers, people that build infrastructure for the organization, people that build centers for technology and for customers. We have network projects, that's people that manage the infrastructure across the country. We have B2B service delivery. That's the example I was giving about banks interconnecting all their branches or connecting all their ATMs, their remote sites. We do that as well in B2B service delivery. And we also have internal systems project management, where we deploy systems within the organization that requires project management skills. So there's a variable career, there are variable career opportunities within the telecom sector. And I'm sure the other panelists that will come after me will also dwell into the other areas that you can be looking into. Winnie, can we go to the next slide? Great. So in terms of some samples based on what I discussed before, in technology, some people are very, very adept at network planning, operations, IP skills, transmission skills, software skills, and so on and so forth. Those have a very good career path in the network planning, transmission planning and operations, and the IT or information systems engineering space, where we have teams that do dev and ops, that's development, the teams that actually create the products and services, and then the operations side as well. We have customer support engineers that do the troubleshooting of customer issues, that do the analytics of customer problems using the systems and the platforms that we have within the organization to solve those problems. And then we have the network management engineers that look at the entire network of the organization, pinpoints the areas that may have faults, be able to engage with the field engineers, solve problems, then restore sites, and then reactivate the network for our customers. So there's so many different or diverse opportunities in the technology area. When it comes to marketing, like I mentioned before, product development is a big opportunity for people that have ICT background, because you understand how to apply technology to create a commercial proposition. Charles touched on this before, and I really like what he said. You have to understand the commercial impact of the technology that you are learning about. What is it ultimately going to achieve? It's not just an academic exercise, but what does it create? What value does it give? So in product management and product development and then product design, you are able to put all of this together to say, this company, this person requires this kind of service to solve a certain problem. How can I apply IoT coding, analytics? How can I apply basic telecommunication infrastructure to create something that has the right price point, can also solve the problem for the customer, easy to adopt, and can also be profitable for my organization? So ultimately, you're harnessing the technical skills to create commercial value for the customer and for the company that you're working with. As the B2B sales manager, I think I've spoken about that. In pre-sales, it's something that you should also be interested in. When someone goes to engage somebody about a service, pre-sales engineers would typically understand the infrastructure or the requirements that the company or the person already has. What internet service are they using? Do they have basic IP infrastructure? Do they have a data center? What kind of technology do they have as a layer? What can MTN or what can the company you're working with then layer on top of that? What has to change? Then you design something that can then solve that problem, engage with the customer, engage with the salesperson, and then come together and then hand over to the product developer to create that service for the customer. So you realize that your skills in technical are really coming to bear because you then understand the fundamentals of whatever the customer requires. And then in project management, I think I've already spoken about that. So these are a couple of careers that exist within our sector in the project management as well. So aside your academic qualification, which is very important, I heard a few of you mentioning about how you've have certifications in A, B, and C, and you have masters and so on and so forth. And as previous speakers have said, that is all well and good, but in today's world, you have to layer some skills on top of that. Techno-commercial skills are very important, and it's something that in MTN or in the telecommunications sector, and I think now in almost every sector, is a requirement. How can you merge the two, your technical and commercial, techno-commercial? How can you understand the impact of your technology on the commercial space? Even if you're doing robotics, how does that impact an organization? If you can create something that's automated, that's great. Ultimately, what does it solve for the customer? So you have to be able to apply these techno-commercial skills, adaptability, critical thinking, the ability to analyze a problem properly, and then be able to indicate where are the metrics that can be eliminated or introduced to solve a problem, build very good data analytics skills, and then innovation. There's a quote that says, innovation is when you're able to turn creativity into invoices. Innovation means that it has to make money for the organization or for the customer. So you have to then be able to merge your creativity to the commercial impact. What is the impact of what you are creating? How does it solve a problem? What does it bring back? Whether it's something that is for good or whether it's commercial. And great communication skills, having technical proficiency, of course, in whatever you're trying to do is very important. And I believe some of these skills can help us all to choose the right career paths for us. But we should not forget these soft skills, because as technical people, we seem to focus so much on our technical prowess that we forget these things. And these are the ones that will really move us to the next level. So to sum up, I would say career fluidity is required in today's world. You cannot be or make yourself one thing and decide that that is all you can be. You have to be open to navigate through multiple paths in this new world of careers. You have to gain variable complementary skills. So go out and look for, if I know how to code and I don't know how to use business, I have to find out business courses that can apply my coding. And lastly, just be teachable and open to learn new skills, because ultimately, as Ernestina said, it's a lifelong learning journey. So thank you so much. And I would hand over to Winifred to take up from here.
Thank you very much, Estelle. So hi, everybody. I will go straight into my presentation. So my presentation, I think we've heard a lot about all of these speakers, and it fits in well with my presentation that focuses predominantly on if you're looking for a job around risk and compliance area and what you should be seeking to do and some of the skills that you should be acquiring. I think a lot have been said about how the whole global environment is changing very drastically, and ICT is the thing. And for risk and compliance management, I think initially we're called business risk people. Most organizations are not inclined to really focus on risk areas, because if you heard from, I think Charles or Prof indicated that you should be able to show where the value is. So as risk and compliance management organizations, you can drive value for the organization. And basically also how you can bring to bear what the impact of the risk to an organization. More and more regulators are also focusing on some of the regulations and requirements on compliance areas. And if you're seeking to look into that area, you should also understand some of the things that you should be acquiring. The key thing as well for this area of focus that I would be speaking about is for you to also understand that as a risk and compliance professional, you are mainly a gatekeeper for the organization. So it's also very important that you understand the overall picture. I think Estelle has spoken a lot about, being relevant. All my colleagues and all these areas. So we just delve deep into this. We all know how the technology landscape is changing. We've spoken a lot about Internet of Things. We've spoken a lot about artificial intelligence, cloud, computing, cybersecurity, blockchain, fintech, and digitalization. I think what's key for a risk and compliance person is, how do I bring value to show to a business that if we as products and services surround Internet of Things, what are the things that can actually stop the business? What are the things that can reduce revenue for the business? And how can we ensure that from an operational point of view and from a top executive point of view, we are bringing to bear, certain controls or certain, mitigation plans to ensure that the business is secured in all those areas. And if we look at some of the business requirements now, more and more risk managers must also have a very, comprehensive view of the business and understanding what skills that they need to also acquire to be able to bring value to the business. A lot of business are looking at putting in place networks, satellite installations, links and integrations. I think Estelle has spoken a lot about those, software and hardware, data storage, and then online platforms and so on and so forth. And what is key for us as for risk and compliance people is also to understand what are the kind of risks what are the kind of skills to bring to bear. A lot of people have indicated that, degrees and things like that, and when they go and acquire to seek for businesses, they don't get those jobs. But I think what's important as people who are seeking to enter into the risk and compliance areas, to understand which industry you're looking to go to, so that you can ensure that on top of your degrees and your masters, you also have a good understanding of the professional certifications, because that will bring a lot of value from your side. We know that today, all the businesses are facing information security threats, business continuity threats. And if you look at something like what happened to us in 2020 on the pandemic, business continuity and information security was a big thing. The shareholders were very, they wanted to understand how the risk managers were ensuring that we were safeguarding companies, because now from one day to the other, a lot of businesses started working from home. How do we ensure that we are securing the information that the company has, the vital, assets that the company has, and so on and so forth? For us, as people who are looking to look for jobs in those areas, you also need to ensure that you understand, some of the skills. You get those skills that will give you an added advantage. Things like privacy, data privacy. I think my colleagues have spoken a lot about critical thinking. I will not go there. So these are some of the skills as well that will bring to bear if you are looking at entering areas like risk and compliance. There are a few courses here that I've listed that may also be of interest. I think from what has already presented to all the teams, certified risk specialist is a key, a skill to get. Project management is not overstated, because it's a very critical thing. NIST cybersecurity professional skills. We have, understanding your risk and information security controls, because you want to understand what are the things that you can advise the company to put in place so that we have minimal disruption to the business that you are seeking to go into. Certifications around information security auditors, your security manager courses and privacy courses, and then business continuity and understanding what standards as well that you need to acquire to be able to manage the business as a resource when you are taking on. And another very critical thing is the ethical hacking. I think my colleagues have spoken a lot about the way information security, cyber attacks are on the increase. It's also a wonderful skill to get if you're going to an organization where the predominant infrastructure is technology. We do also want to understand that the structures are also properly secured, and you as a risk person could be able to give a good view on how to block all those loopholes for attackers to attack any organization. I think what is key is that we are looking at, if I talk about risk and compliance, we're looking at people who want to seek jobs around IT risk management. We are looking at people who want to seek jobs around, enterprise risk management, auditing, and so on and so forth. And these are some of the skills that will be needed if you want to look for jobs around those sites. So thank you very much. I would hand over to my colleague, Emilia. If there are no, I think we'll take the questions after Emilia has made her submission.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Emilia. I'm the ethics manager for MTN Ghana. I'm sure you'll be wondering what an ethics manager is doing here with ICT stuff. But the business of ethics is to give weight to your value. We've talked about value in the industry. And so I took a good topic to discuss with you. So I'm talking to us about integrity, and I will justify this topic briefly. Now, if you look at any organization's value statement or a list of values, you would see integrity. If you don't see integrity, you're likely to see trust, which actually is the fruit of integrity. In the most unlikely event where you don't see integrity or trust, you will see something that cannot exist without integrity, like leadership, like teamwork, like excellence, like customer care. And so as people seeking for jobs, it's very important that you get to know that integrity remains the core of every employer's desire, because that is what will make them sustainable. As we are speaking now, we are all sitting on chairs. And we are sitting on a chair, we trust that the chair will give us that support. Not just any support, but we trust it so much that we don't even check whether the chair is faulty, but we sit on it because we know that that support will happen. And so the value of the chair, and we've talked about value throughout the session, is actually what the chair can do by way of performance. As people looking for jobs in the industry, we must understand that our value really is about what we can do, what we bring out. And the weight that will be placed on your value depends on your integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing always, even when no one is watching. And Warren Buffett puts it nicely. He says that it is that thing that makes it hard for people to question your decision. You are so open that anything you decide on, people trust that's what you used good judgment. We must realize that you cannot be using good judgment if you are just a person who follows rules and procedures, because integrity goes beyond that. It is something that is within. It is a way of life. And so someone puts it nicely that with integrity, there's no need for rules. So whether or not the organization you work in has policies or guidelines concerning a particular situation that you find yourself, you'll be able to what? Exercise integrity by what? Balancing the interests of the stakeholders to reach a decision that is good for everyone. Next slide, please. And so the point I am making to us, next slide, please. The point I am making to us is that as people looking for work, you must understand that the value that will be placed on your skills, your intelligence, your initiative depends on your integrity, which is shown through your conduct and your behavior. And so if you have all the tech skills, you are digi-savvy, you can do everything in technology, but you do not have integrity, then there's a question, are you an asset or a liability? Warren Buffett says that in hiring people, we look for three things. We look for intelligence, and we look for initiative or energy. And then we look for integrity. If the person you are hiring doesn't have the latter, which is integrity, then you rather want the person to be lazy and dumb. Because if you have someone who has all the tech knowledge but does not have integrity, the person is not going to be a liability to the organization, because the person has access to data, has access to platforms that the person can use for all sorts of things. So your integrity is key as an individual looking for work in the IT industry. Now, my encouragement to us all is that as we develop ourselves, we should also build our integrity. And whenever you get a job in an organization, anytime you pull your chair to sit down, you must realize that somebody is trusting you to do the right thing, just the way that you are trusting the chair to give you that support. It is possible. You can do it. It only starts with a true commitment, and it doesn't cost a thing. Thank you.
So thank you. I think we finished with our presentation.
Oh, right. I think it's time for Q&A. So we would have to allow some of the participants to ask questions. So let's go to the chat column and let's see. All right. So, okay, we have a couple of people raising their hands. Evans Ado. Evans. Hello. All right, let me go to Seth. Hello, Seth. Okay. Charles Nana Bafo. Hello. All right, let me read some of the questions that are coming up. What controls are in place to maintain segregation of duties or specialty for young chaps in ICT in an industry which requires progressive flexibility for meeting consumer needs? And I'm sure that any one of you can please answer this for us as we look forward to some of the people that would want to come online and ask their questions.
Yeah, so I will take this one. My name is Winifred. So if I understand the question well, he's saying that what controls are there for them as ICT chaps. I think that in most industries, we have IT managers that stay in operation, okay, who actually do the job. And I didn't want to go too much into technical jargons when I was making my presentation, but in mature organizations, what we do is to ensure that we have the several level, the first level support and then the second level support. We call them lines of defense. So ideally in a big organization, you see that for segregation of duty, first starts with your line manager and your supervisor and things to put in some kind of segregation of duty. But on top of that, from a governance point of view, you will see that you have an IT risk person who is doing work in IT because he's busy and actually doing the implementation. You would have a second line of assurance that sits in a different unit that perhaps may be a business risk unit or a risk and compliance unit that basically checks over you. So those are the segregation of duties that we can put in place in different organizations. But it also depends on the model that the organization runs to put in place the segregation of duty.
All right, thank you very much, Winifred. We have Godi Africa, one of our partners online, who would want to ask a question. So Godi Africa, please, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Well, we are not hearing from you, but then what I would want to ask all of you to do is just go to the Q&A column and then type your questions over there so that we can reach them in case we can't hear you. All right, so the first question came actually from CC Abraham. Let me go to the next one coming from Jude Kumsin, and he's asking, how can we build or grow IT skills needed?
And Estina would like to take this, but I think the previous presenters have already answered this question.
Yes.
Yes, by ensuring that you are training yourself, because it's important that you get the skill. The competence will come when you're able to work with that skill. So it's training, training, training. If that answers the question.
Okay, yes, that answers. Okay, let me.
I would like to add to that.
Hello.
Yes, I would like to add to what Winifred just said.
Okay.
So for most organizations, your entry level would be your basic first degree, and then over time, your specialization, your professional certification would lead you towards a particular path. So your constant learning, like Winifred said, would be a key determinant in where you go as an ICT professional.
All right, thank you very much, Ernestine.
Just to add some level of another angle to it, I would say that, as one speaker said before, offer your services for free in some instances. Why do I say this? Because in my experience, I didn't have certain skills, but even though some roles were not within my job profile, I had to do those, outside what my job actually is supposed to do, so that I can build those skills. So in some instances, you can give up yourself for internship, unpaid internship, or you can offer to learn from somebody who is already doing something during your free time, so that you can build those on-the-job skills without necessarily being employed in that role. And those skills can equally be put on your CV to give yourself some experience, even though you are not technically within that job space. So that can also support in building up those skills that is required.
Thank you very much. Now, Bright, are you please on the line? Now, hello? Yayira? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, go ahead with your question, please.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Yayira. My question is for Estelle. I think she just ended one contribution, which I find very interesting, about volunteering time to acquire new skills. I think Ernestina also highlighted a skills gap identified by major organizations when it comes to new skills like data analytics and stuff. And I made a connection with Estelle's presentation where she was saying that in enterprise business, they are now going to enterprise data analytics. So in conclusion, my question is this. Big business in Ghana, I'm not talking about outside Ghana, big business in Ghana is going through digital transformation, not only on the customer front, but even internally. So it means that some of their structures are also having to change. So regarding these new roles in terms of data analytics and all these new specifications, what is MTN specifically doing in terms of creating a structure internally for these new roles? Maybe Estelle or Ernestina can answer this question. Thank you.
Okay, I can start, and then I'm sure Ernestina will touch base. So so this is not on behalf of MTN, this is my personal opinion of what is happening within our environment. We don't necessarily create new structures to evolve the organization. What we do is we train across the business to get ready for these new areas. So we have specific trainings. In fact, today I'm in one, which is called futuristic training for innovation. Okay, and you'd have people from enterprise, from IT, from the network side, from customer experience. So we have a cross-functional upskilling to prepare ourselves for things like digital innovation. And then also we have a projectized approach where leads are pulled from across the business to create a project team that will undertake a specific area in digital transformation, be it a new system or a new platform that is going to be introduced. And then once that project team across the business, implements that, then the skills are transferred to their respective units. So you'd see that a large organization or a company like ours will not necessarily go into building new structures, but rather building up the skills of employees across the business to be ready for this new digital transformation. So there is always learning. We are always in training. We are always learning something new to prepare for these things. So that's why we all mentioned that it's a lifelong learning journey in these organizations. You cannot just be in one place and expect that you are going to be ready for the next move. Ernestina, I'm sure will also come in with her take on that.
Very well said, Estelle. So to add to what you said,
If you can share
our structures.
turn on your video, because some participants joined late, so they cannot see our resource persons.
Okay, this is Ernestina. So to add to what Estelle said, our structures are influenced largely by our long-term strategies. So what our long-term strategies are, and then over time, we adjust our structures to reflect them to meet the demands of these strategies. And then the structures are not fixed. They are flexible enough that as to whatever the new business model is, the new business need is, we are able to adjust. We are agile enough to be able to adjust to the new needs. So that's just a little to add to what Estelle said.
Thank you very much, Ernestina and Estelle. Maybe basically Estelle answered part of it, but I think she focused more on the internal. My question is based on what Ernestina mentioned, that locally companies are struggling to get resources for these new roles. For instance, data analytics, data science. What I want to find out basically from the management staff of MTN on this panel is what strategies have they taken in consideration based on their long-term approach to look at what human resources or what people or what outside MTN 2 years ago. I'll end my question.
No, what I'm saying is, I don't know where you're standing, but then position yourself well. We can't hear you well.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Is it better?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Basically, I want to find out if there is, based on the long-term strategy of MTN, if there's also a long-term strategy of seeing resources outside coming in to help with the long-term approach. My question is based on the fact that I think MTN is now very active on social media, especially LinkedIn. 2 years ago, I saw that they put a position for data analytics specialist. I believe that's an entry-level role. And I don't know if that position has been filled. That is why I was referring to structures. So Estelle answered the upskilling internally, but I want to know if, based on what is going on in the ecosystem in Ghana, MTN is able to have a view of what people are trying to do outside MTN to upscale so that they can also tap on that resource. Are they having positions for people who are trying to upscale MTN outside MTN for such roles? That's why I'm trying to ask a follow-up question here.
Okay.
I hope my question is clear, Ernestine.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I
David.
think
So, okay. Estelle, can I take this? So like Estelle mentioned earlier, I'm also speaking on my own behalf. So whatever views I share here are my own and not of MTN, not that of MTN. So the organization is said that we always want the best talent. Okay, so it's not, Estelle mentioned the internal focus bit, but we focus also on the external bit as well. So our opportunities are open to both our internal employees and then to the external market as well. So depending on who has the capability, the right competencies that we need, we bring the person on board to fill that vacancy or that job role we need that person to come in for. I hope that answers it, David.
All right, so let's move to the Q&A column. We've got a couple of questions over there that I think that we should look at. The first one says, I'm offering a bachelor's degree in information technology, and I hope to be a network administrator. However, I'm convinced the need for system administrators some years to come will be obsolete. I want to know if delving into telecom and security will be good, and maybe take cloud computing, which I'm not sure, substitute for network administration. And then I have another one here. It says, a lot has been said about professional certificate, which is fine, My question is, a lot of people out there in most of the top IT sectors went there without degrees or master's certificates, but with some of these professional courses, what does this put on those with a degree in IT and computer science? Should it even be necessary importance to focus on degree, or just go ahead and enroll in some of the professional certificate courses? And any one of you at all can take this.
Okay, so if I could take that, the environment is such that your capabilities, your competencies would speak for you. So regardless of what you are coming in from, for some roles, you need a basic requirement, probably a bachelor's, etc. And then progressing, you need your professional certification and all those specialist certifications. So it's not cast in stone. Depending on what competencies you are coming in with, what capabilities you are coming in, you may be considered for a role.
All right, so.
Okay,
yeah, if I can just.
I think the first question was on the network side.
Yeah, administrator.
Administrator. Right, so I can't speak to say that from network you can move into cloud computing and security, and that is the only role. What I would say is that you should identify the opportunities or future-led opportunities using network administration as the foundation, because you can have variable opportunities, as we've already said. Security is one, but you may also have other career paths that emanate from that. For example, in MTN, we have an IP team, okay, that handle our network IT systems. Our entire network is now on the IPMPLS platform. That means that all the people within that team have basic IP certification or IP knowledge. So depending on which area you want to go to, I think you need to just research and identify what opportunities can emanate from starting from a network administrative foundation upwards. You can also do the certifications in the CCNA route as well, if you so wish. I'm sure Winifred can also touch on this because she has some background in that area. So Winnie, I'm sure you can weigh in.
Yes, so I mean, basically, I think Ernestina and yourselves have answered the question quite well. But there was a part of the question that indicated that most of some CIOs and things like that have certifications instead of degrees. I think it's also important that we also note that people come in and sort of grow within the ranks within some organizations. So it makes it easy for them to move up. So remember that the skill is what you come in with, but the competence you acquire on the job. So if the organization sees that your competence has reached a certain level to be in a certain, level, you might move up there. It's not like they will bring you in with totally no degrees. As Ernestina has said, there are certain basic degrees that will be needed before you come in. But if I want to use my experience, for example, I am from a predominantly technical background, and I moved through from my technical background into risk and compliance. So I had to ensure that I did the trainings to be able to be competent enough to do those other areas. So it entirely depends on you, on how you want your career path, what you want, where you want to end up with. And I think I don't know if it was Prof or Mr. Charles who indicated that you need to be deliberate in all your actions. You need to be deliberate. You need to tell yourself that in the next 5 years, I want to get into IP, for example, and then you train yourself towards that. And you need to do the research to be able to get there.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernestina. Those questions were coming from Genevieve Kankambensa and then Meshach Suwa. Fred Bekoy is asking, I know some employers like to recruit people to learn on the job. What are some of the qualities MTN, for example, would see to be able to offer learn on the job opportunities to candidates? And then let me go to the next one so that you can take it. Please, I have a notice of a lot of organizations that require a lot of skills for entry-level roles and internships as well. That's coming from Betty Anna. So Betty, you can post the link over there so that we can have a look at it. And then Fred Bekoy again says, I know some employers like to recruit people to learn on the job. What are some of the qualities MTN, for example, like to? Okay, so it's the same question. Yeah.
I think Ernestina will be the best person to take this one.
Okay, then.
So like I mentioned earlier, aside all the technical competencies or skills you need to have, you must have certain behavioral skills as well. So if you're talking about learning, you need to be very agile with regards to your learning disposition. So you should be someone who is agile to learning, someone who is creative, who is very innovative, who is a problem solver, who has this interpersonal skills, who is able to communicate very well, is a futuristic thinker, someone who thinks into the future, someone who has all these skills. Because I mean, over time, most organizations are looking at the behavioral instead of the, I mean, in addition to the technical, although they are placing more premium on the behavioral, because I mean, it's easy, you know, working on the technical bit, because I mean, you can obtain that through classroom learning, through online learning and all of that, but your behavior would need a very long time to be able to, you know, work on. So your disposition as an individual, your behavior to a very large extent, if you meet all these requirements, would take you far.
So attitude really and certainly matters in all aspects of technology skills that you have to acquire, and
yes.
also the value that you have to bring on board. That's simply
yes.
what you're saying.
Yes, to a very large extent.
Okay, then. Thank you. I have another question coming from Michael Kedi. I hope I mentioned the surname right. From the HR perspective, why does most entry-level IT jobs require university degrees?
So on our job market, until recently, where we've seen some organizations offering professional courses and all that, what we've been used to is the university bachelors for a very long time now. So over time, that's what we've been exposed to. Okay. In recent times, we started looking at the professional side, those with professional certification. We just map it. We see the equivalent. If it meets the minimum requirement, why not? It may be considered.
Oh, all right, thank you. Let's take the last question for the day. And it says, please, my question goes this way. There are several of learners who try to build and explore their skill set by trying to solve some tasks. However, when they get to the job market, it seems quite more demanding what they are to do. Can there be a way to incorporate these individuals, train them on the job by helping them achieve the required experience to work? I ask before because I have known people, and myself included, who go through such, and as a result of lack of enterprise work experience, are considered even to be given a chance. I hope you got a question. Or should I go over it again?
Okay, I got some bit of the question, something to do with requirements, experience needed to be able to fill certain roles.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, okay. So of course, you need to have some experience to be able to do certain jobs, okay? And especially in our environment where it's very competitive, and we are faced with all these competition, we need, you know, to have the right skill set, people who have the right disposition and right experience to be able to, I mean, do whatever is expected of them. However, I mean, you must not necessarily have that, you know, sense of the word, I mean, that formal job experience to be able to meet the 2 or 3 years requirements. Like previous speakers have said, you could have, how do you call it, volunteering experience. I mean, some have been volunteers for several years, and it's counted as experience. Your national service is counted as experience. Your internship is counted as experience. So all the various opportunities you've had to be able to experience what work environment it is or work experience it is count, and it goes a long way in helping. So let's not just be focused on, you know, the formal employment, you know, experience kind, but I mean, the other experiences we can gather.
Okay, so thank you all very much. Very, very big thank you going out to each and every one of you. I think that was the last question because time is already gone. I mean, so I would like to acknowledge our sponsors quickly before we get on one very last item, and then we'll just wrap up. MTN is one of our partners. BNFT, Ho Technical University, Afos Foundation, Academic City University College, Business 20, for a very big thank you to you. And then I would also like to say a very, very big thank you to our speakers, Ernestina Akins, Winifred Seto-Smith, Mr. Charles Osei, Estelle Asari, Emilia Ato, Professor Fred Mark Bangonlori. A very big thank you going out to each and every one of you. And if there's anything that personally I have taken from this webinar is the fact that the difference between AI and a human being is creativity and imagination. So it is very, very important that these soft skills about technology that we need to learn, we quickly, get ourselves on it and start learning them, because 90% of all the things that our speakers have said, forms the basics of coding. And we have already taken you through coding, which earlier on, the executive chairman of the Institute of ICT Professionals, Mr. David Gould, did a presentation on. So the coding program is on. Go to the chat column. We've got the link over there. Go straight to that place and then sign up so that you can be part of some of the soft skills about coding that they are offering for you. Before we go, I'd like to call again on the Executive Director of Institute of ICT Professionals, Mr. David Gould, for his final remarks.
Thank you very much. Very packed 2.5 hours. A lot of information shared, wonderful insights. I'm really, really excited about this maiden edition. We'll definitely come back again with more of these programs so that we can prepare ourselves for the future. A lot of people looking for employment, but they also need some of this information, and the right information is what's going to land you the right job. So we are really excited, and we want to thank all our resource persons for taking time off your busy schedules and also sharing knowledge with us and giving us some, wonderful insight into what we should expect for the future. I want to thank our partners, MTN, Afos Foundation, Ho Technical University, BNFT, our partners. For the past three and a half years, we've been with BNFT. We publish articles on technology, on job opportunities, on areas that people need to focus on, and our partners from BNFT always publish them in our column, the Institute of ICT Professionals, every Monday. And we really want to acknowledge that support. We also want to thank all other partners that came on this show today. And we want to thank you all. We want to thank our participants. Almost 200 people joined, and we look forward to having you all back. The recorded video of this webinar will be shared via the link, via the email that you use in registering for this program. So look forward to that tomorrow. You will receive them, you receive a link, and you can play back everything if you're not part of this from the beginning. Also, I think in that also you'll be able to get the slides. Thank you very much for coming, and we look forward to having you all back in the short while and just in the future. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David Gould. And then finally, a very big thank you to all the participants. And I'm sure that we've all taken something that can help us in the coming days and then in the future. God bless you all. Have a wonderful afternoon and the rest of the day. Just be good and make sure that you mask up as we continue to adhere to the COVID-19 regulations and then rules that protect us from contracting the virus. Thank you all and God bless you.